Hi, this is something that I kept under wraps and something that I've been playing on like my off time from Infinity Nikki. So I haven't really visited The Sims 4 since about 2017. So this has been 9 years. I decided to revisit it after playing Enzoy and hearing from every channel ever that the game is dying. I don't mind dead single player games, by the way. They tend to be more certain and more stable in what's there. Like, at some point, developers stop updating single player games, and then you're left with what you're left with, which means that if you're modding or if you're making changes, you know what that is. You know what that is. You know what you're dealing with, and you know that no future update is gonna break that. And honestly, I'm fine with that. I am fine with limited lifespan games. I'm in fact used to limited lifespan games. I don't think that any game should go on for forever. So when I heard that the last expansion pack has released for The Sims 4, I thought maybe I should revisit it and figure out figure out what's like the meat and potatoes of this game. Another good thing, when the games are at the end of their lifespan, expansion packs, stuff packs, and so on, they get very cheap. So I bought practically half of The Sims 4 at a greatly discounted price. Mind you, not entirely official vendors, but I could find quite a few expansion packs for like £8 a pop, which seemed a bit more reasonable. From my experience, The Sims 4 is still very janky and sort of broken. I'm following this guy to high school at the moment, mostly because I have two toddlers at home, and I have my fingers like crossed, and I'm praying that everything's fine with that. Because, well, when they were infants, bottle feeding was practically impossible. Check on infant interaction kept on spawning for absolutely like everybody repeatedly. Hello, faculty member that doesn't actually want to go inside despite the fact that you're supposed to be working at the kitchens and we're supposed to be getting food from you. Never mind, I'm gonna be nice to you over here. This is fair enough. But anyways, check on infant interaction kept on spawning on every adult sim and every teenage sim in the household, so that's like 3 sims, and I think that they were canceling each other out. So whenever I would tell somebody to bottle feed those kids, they would pick them up for about 2 seconds, then they would put them back down again. Trying to keep a baby alive for 5 days when nobody can feed them is friggin' nightmare. Not to mention, I live in a fairly small lot, and I decided to get Tiny Living as a stuff pack because it was the spring sale and EA was doing the make your own game bundle thing where like expansion pack and game pack and stuff pack cost practically the same as an expansion pack normally does. So I got Tiny Living because I was like, hey, it's cool. I'm living in a very tiny space. So maybe I should get like tiny furniture to place in the tiny space, and that completely broke pathfinding. Like, having a TV and a radio and a bookshelf all at once sounds really good until you realize that you need to give it a lot of space or nobody will figure out how to navigate around that. So I may have had to remove several walls in my tiny house just to make my tiny house work. Not to mention, I have to play so slowly. I have to play so slowly because freezing, interaction lag, that sort of thing. It's a fairly common experience. It is playable, but it is jank. Like, if I was to compare it to The Sims 2, I would say that The Sims 2 kind of feels like almost playing an arcade game. There's a rhythm to it. There's a speed to it. You can get through every single day kind of fast, and the lifespans of your Sims are kind of short, so you really have to optimize your time and figure out exactly what you want to do with them. And that's the gameplay loop. The change in generations is the gameplay loop. The Sims 4 is jank to begin with. Secondly, it has like the longest lifespan of any Sims game to date. So, like, you can spend 3 weeks as a teenager. Adult phase lasts for something, what, like 42 days? With young adult also being like 21 days on top of it. It's a long game. The change of generations is so slow compared to it. And you're also playing it kind of slowly, kind of like I'm doing right now, just to like make sure that the game runs smoothly, that it doesn't just like go off the rails or freeze, or your Sims get lost constantly trying to check on a baby that they cannot feed. Because that's a thing. So, I came to a conclusion. What The Sims 4 is actually a minutia simulator, where the foundation is a bit wobbly. The length of time that you have with any one sim is like insane compared to other Sims games. Expansion packs are so weirdly specific. Like, there's one just for a holiday to Japan to do some skiing or to go to an onsen. Some game packs are also really oddly specific. Like, there's one to just go to a jungle to explore the jungle. Currently, I'm playing through an expansion pack that's just here for you to be able to go to a high school. Really oddly specific. For very oddly specific things to do. And what's even worse is that proms are not functional in my game. So technically it would be like high school and you get like to go out to a prom party. Instead, I practically just kind of get a high school. And because my sim is doing very well, the teachers kept on trying to prompt me to graduate early, which would mean that I would go to no school at all, which would beat the point of having this pack, unless I would also get university pack, because then I could just go to university early. And I heard that if you try really hard... What do you want? No! I do not want to early graduate! Stop asking me! If I got to university pack, I have heard that it takes like 3 weeks of insane grinding to get through university, or you can take 4 weeks to be a bit more reasonable for yourself. So, it makes sense to early graduate if you're gonna do that, right? Like, spend the teenage years instead of adult years inside the university? But like, I don't have that, so like, what the shit would this guy be doing for me? Sitting... I have like 500 hours on this game, and I haven't been playing it for 12 hours, for 24 hours straight, so I don't know what that pop-up was about. But like, the reason why I got this pack was to escape my house game. You don't need to prompt me twice a day whether or not I would like to stop going to high school altogether because my grades be good. That does not help me escape my own toddlers. If you know what I mean. So anyway, this is like my house layout. This is the infamous TV. You can't walk here. I don't know why. And for some reason, walking like this is also really complicated. I don't know why. Something's super up. This is the whole royalty expansion pack. This one I got from EA for free for being like a game tester for them, which is what prompted me to return to The Sims 4 to begin with. Another thing is that a lot of lots in expansion packs are like this, but then if I go to my aspirations, a lot of them go, hey, own a rocket ship, and that thing is friggin' huge. And when I had kids, they were like, hey, like, own a giant playground for your child. That would not even fit. That would take up half of this lot. I would need to bulldoze my own house to even do that. So, like, you're playing in an expansion pack, but, like, your aspirations are asking you for some huge objects that you definitely won't be able to, like, shove in here. I now went on a tandem, on a tantrum, on a prolonged line of thought that went probably the wrong places. Please don't die from tiredness. Okay, most of you, at the very least, you guys seem to have been fed. And you went off to play chess. Good on you. So what I'm trying to say is that this game is oddly specific. It has a lot of pop-ups and recommendations. The expansion and stuff packs are also oddly specific. Like, they're about, like, a singular thing that you want to do, and that's when you get a specific pack that's designed for you to do, like, this very singular, very specific thing. And the kind of specific things that you can do, they are a tiny bit weird. I'm not gonna lie. Which one of you are you? Terry. So let's potty train Terry. But it's also oddly addicting. I completely understand why some people have invested 12 years into The Sims 4. Well, honestly, not so much at the start. I was there at the start. It lacked the oddly specific bits. So it was kind of empty and buggy at the same time without the oddly specific bits, so you can't even say that it's a minutia simulator. Like, I couldn't just, like, go away to Japan to ski for some reason. Or I couldn't just, like, buy a pack to do nothing but to go to a high school. It lacked the oddly specific things. Now it has it, and now it can be called a minutia simulator, where you want to play slow. You want to observe what your people are doing. You want to really read up about what is an expansion pack, because it's very easy to miss the oddly specific thing and not use the oddly specific thing that you bought. It's kind of a bit overwhelming if you buy a lot of oddly specific things at once, and then you're like, which one of the oddly specific things do I actually want to engage in, and which way do I engage it in? But then when you figure out how to work the oddly specific things, it becomes a really, really slow game in which you do oddly specific things because you decided that you wanted to do oddly specific things. And then maybe 100 hours later, you're finally past generation 1, and you notice that the rest of your town has died off because families are really shit at having children on their own, so majority of the NPCs just kinda fade into non-existence, and then you're kinda just stuck playing your family with randos. That would be the game loop. But I understand the draw of it. Because no other Sims game, and no other simulation game in general, offered you as many oddly specific things. Like, I'm still eyeing expansions. Like, I do want to get university, But I got Love Struck, which comes with a very annoying notification asking me if I'm looking for love like every second day. So that's not very nice. I got Life and Death, which comes with reminding me that that city inside Life and Death has a festival practically every single day. That's also kind of annoying, but at the same time I could work as a Grim Reaper, which I haven't tried yet, and I could read tarot cards, which I do have a set, but I don't use it in the game on the regular. And also it allows me to plan a funeral, which is why I want it, for a very oddly specific thing. I got Snowy Escape. I got Jungle Adventure. I got a lot of those very oddly specific things. Like, I got high school years in order to play with my Sims in their high schools. And I feel like I should use the oddly specific things that I have, but then I eye all of those oddly specific things that I don't have, like the ability to go to a university. And then I think, maybe I need more oddly specific things. And then I go, Mirta, stop. Stop, play with the oddly specific things that you already have. So I understand. I understand the people that were here for the hype, that were here throughout the years, that were here when all of those things released one after the other, and they took the time to get to know them and to go through the full lifespan of this game, and I understand that they're disappointed that the game is at the end of its lifespan. Well, for me, it's like, I didn't know how to eat this game, and now I think I do. Now I think I do. Now I think I know that I need to take this very slowly. The hell are you doing? That's not playing. That is destroying. Can one of you, like, parent this kid, please? This kid really needs parenting. That's not helpful. That's another thing. They moved all the menus and where you would do things. So I don't actually know where parenting even is, because this is, yep, this is parenting, but it doesn't really have tell your toddler off, so I have to assume that I can't tell them off. Kid, whatever you're doing, like, stop doing that. So, you're not hungry? Who fed you, even? How did you guys go potty? Because I only remember one of you going potty. Never mind. Well, anyway. She's gonna go over there and say, teach it to be sorry. I think maybe it's good that I started playing The Sims 4 now, rather than following it through its lifespan. Because once again, I wouldn't really know what to do with it. And now I feel like I have a grasp. Where the point is to go very, very slow. If possible, honestly play with like one sim. Create memories. And have a desire to put them in oddly specific situations. And then the game works. That's how you should play it, in my opinion. If I had to rate where The Sims 4 is at the end of its lifespan, I couldn't even put a number on it. Because it doesn't really feel like a continuation of The Sims 2 and The Sims 3. It kind of feels like their janky cousin. Like, something went super wrong in that line of the family, and the cousin is kind of honestly a bit awkward and derpy, but you tolerate it because it comes up with some really wacky ideas, and you're kind of into that. I wouldn't see it as a progression, but at the same time, if I look at other simulators like Inzoi, I can see that it's taking inspiration off The Sims 4 and not like The Sims 1, 2, and 3. because it's also setting up to be a very slow game with very long lifespans. So it's also setting up something that you take really, really slowly. And as somebody that's used to The Sims 2 and 3, that's a new one for me, because it's like a life simulator that you play in a completely different way than normal. I think he pooped his pants. That would explain why he didn't need to go potty. He pooped his pants. Please unpoop his pants. Thank you very much. The only thing is that when I want to embrace The Sims franchise's lonely cousin, when I want to show it love, see, she just completely abandoned the idea of changing this kid's diaper. Please, no reading, diaper change. No reading, diaper change. Can you do a diaper change? How about giving him a bath? Because maybe then you're gonna change his diaper. No? He's just gonna live with his pants with poop the whole time. Like his whole toddler life, he's just gonna live in a pooped pant. Because that is a possibility. Feeding these kids was hell. If we have to make them live with pooped pants, I would not be surprised. We might be able to change this. For the next generation, I'm moving out, but I kind of want to live in Japan. And no, continue. Continue to the bathtub. Which one is this one? It says so. Continue to the bathtub, please. No. Really? Where did you get stuck? Can you move? Yeah? You both can move? If you both can move, then you can't be bathed, for fuck's sake. You're going off to research. That's so random. Please, just don't do that. I have lost my train of thought in the process of trying to make this woman bathe this child. So anyway, I'm gonna be moving my next generation to Japan, which also has notoriously small houses, but I think if I find another default house that has 2 floors, I'm gonna be demolishing that. And I'm just gonna be using the bottom floor to my best ability, just to eliminate the problem of traversing stairs. And I'll probably won't use items from Tiny Living for eliminating the problem of really janky pathfinding. And also, I really hope that one day my random neighbors don't just, like, come into my house to play with the computer, but, you know, everybody can dream. Everybody can dream, but I don't think that that's happening. Like, I think I'm still gonna have weird neighbors that invade my house, no matter how well I lock up. Because that's just Sims 4 free. Now, continuing with my thought, after we managed to... You're just watching... You know you should probably, like... parent him? Please? In any way, shape, or... No? Okay. Sure. Go and mop your puddle. It's fine if your toddler destroys your house, I guess. I don't need to live here. You need to live here. So anyway, as I was saying, when I want to show love to my wacky, janky cousins, I tend to want to spotlight them on my channel. And my favorite way of doing this tends to be through playing the game. But because of how slow The Sims 4 is, I am not even entirely sure if that is a possibility unless you A, do a lot of editing, or B, go in with a very specific idea that can be accomplished in definitely less than one singular Sim's lifespan. Because otherwise, I don't know how people like play this with others on streams and YouTube. Otherwise, this is like such a slow game. Such a slow game. So instead, well, you can still tell me if you would want to see that or not. If you did, I would try and figure something out, but instead, this is how I'm showcasing it. You know what? This is one very janky cousin, but it's also a very lovable cousin. And when you get into a whole bunch of discourse, when you look at all the simmers online, you're gonna find is a very volatile community that will be focusing on the minutia that are important to them, like the fact that marketplace is now a thing, which I survived the Sims 3 store. This is absolutely nothing for me. This does nothing to me. It's perfectly fine that it's there. Selling mods is kind of a novel idea. Do I like the fact that the EA takes 70% of income from modders? No, not very. Am I gonna use this? No, I have half of The Sims 4 effectively. Completing my collection, even at discounted prices, even from questionable sites, is gonna take a lot of time and money. I am years away from this being an attractive thing to do because I have years worth of content. Like, you're not gonna pay £5 for 18 objects when you can find expansion packs for £8 that add a lot more, you know? Together with like game functionality, you know what I'm saying? But does it bother me? Not really. Like, as I said, I survived the Sims 3 store. That one was directly in your build mode. However, if you look at discourse online to do with this game, that's the worst thing since the plague. Does it bother me that EA is sold to Saudi Arabia? Well, I play a lot of Chinese games. Let me tell you, China's not a very nice country. I play a lot of American games, and let me tell you, current American political climate is committing war crimes on other countries. So do I care that Saudi Arabia bought EA? No. If you look at the Sims community, worst thing since the plague. Couldn't be worse. I do care that it seems like the same CEO has stayed, and because he sold his business to Saudi Arabia, the business is now burdened with the debt that the money was paid for. Like, the new owners would like that money to be earned back, you see, because they paid all that money to a guy that would say, yes, this belongs to you now, but then they put like that money spent on the company and be like, you have to make up all that money. So one guy walks away with all that money and he still gets to be in charge of the company for the most part. But the business has to like make up all that money. And it seems that the new overlords don't really have a lot of rule or say over this game. So what you have is the old people that were always responsible for this game going, we're gonna cut a corner here and we're gonna cut a corner there and we're gonna fire like hundreds of people and clobber something together from this and from that, and you don't need that much money because we need to monetize up to our ears, and we gotta return all that money that Saudi Arabia spent on us. I mind that part, not the fact that it was purchased. I mind that part because it's just not good for the future of the franchise. But it's not gonna touch this game in particular because this game is kinda el finito outside of them putting in a marketplace to sell some mods. It's done, it's finished, it's gonna be forever in this state outside of maybe a couple more updates or bug fixes that they're gonna do to it. So the future of the company is not gonna be touching this product in particular. Hence, I don't have such strong feelings. But everybody in the community of The Sims seems to have very strong feelings all the time. And I don't want to have those strong feelings. I just want to enjoy my janky, wacky cousin in peace. So, I suppose this is what this video was. This game moves ultra slowly, it's very bugged, very janky, and it's like minutia simulator to the max. If you wanna, I don't know, try reincarnation, throw some funerals, throw some weddings, go to a high school, work as a Grim Reaper, focus on just doing vacations in the jungle, focus on just doing vacations in the snowy place and skiing, live in Japan and wear school uniforms because apparently that's a thing that's inherent just to Japan in this world. If you want to try and play a dynasty and have like this really weird menu where I can reinforce specific actions that I want performed but not others, while I see all the dynasties die around me because these Sims are really bad at procreating, so every dynasty that's not yours eventually just disappears through the natural selection of nobody wanted to have kids. Like, if you want to do that, there's a pack for that. Like, that's so specific. So, if you wanna play the ultra specific minutia simulator, Sims 4 is pretty okay at that. Just like, look through its whole list of DLC and select your flavor of specific minutia. And perhaps don't buy too many specific minutia at once, because like me, you will forget which specific minutia you own, and then engaging with a specific minutia willfully and stepping out of just your overall house where you can't feed infants becomes kind of hard. But like, as long as you select your type of specific minutia to try and simulate, you can probably get a lot of hours out of it. This is good at simulating specific minutia. So hi, weird Sims cousin. You're okay, actually. Sorry that I overlooked you. I kinda expected you to be more like the other 2 games before you, rather the other 3 games really, but Sims 1 is also its own beast. But it turns out that you weren't. It turns out that you were a very different game. And maybe I judged you on just the wrong line of judgment. Like, maybe my criteria and what you were just like completely misfired. And that's why I viewed you the way that I did. So consider this a love letter to our janky, whimsical cousin of life simulation. And I'm gonna go back right to it. And if you wanna try and enjoy it, just like do your research online, figure out which packs are like incredibly bugged that you probably shouldn't be getting, and which packs are kind of more okay, and just like go ahead, enjoy the incredibly janky, whimsical cousin of life simulators. Sorry about this rant. I just felt the need to share this game outside of like that whole bubble of negativity that it permanently lives in. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. And the next time you see me, I will be back with more Infinity Nikki. Yeah. Toodaloo.